Do. Hello, everyone. Welcome back, Admiralty, raised by FPS. Farv and somehow someone left the back door open, so Bubba got back in again. I don't know how that happened, but here we are.
Wow. Backdoor crashing.
So today we're going to be talking about Jim Jones, also known as Captain Kool-Aid. Jim Jones ran the People's Temple from the 1950s. Hold on, there we go. Then in the 1970s, he went down to Guyana and formed Jamestown, which then became known as the People's Temple Integration or something like that. It had a big long name. But he formed this little town right here. But before all this, we have to go back to the start. Farv, you were saying you wanted to talk about his early churchhood?
Okay, so
just real quick, you misspoke there briefly. You called it Jamestown. It's Jonestown.
I'm sorry, Jonestown.
Well,
but Farv, you were saying?
Yeah. Okay. So Jones was a regular in church. I believe it was a Pentecostal church to begin with when he was a kid.
Yes.
He went to Butler University and graduated, so he decided to enter the ministry. This was between the 50s and 60s, right? He was considered very charismatic in his church. This was in Indianapolis, Indiana. But then he started being odd and claimed to doing weird shit, like claiming to have psychic powers, claiming to have the ability to see the future, and the faith heal.
And people also said that he used to run around different churches, grabbing the beginning of sermon, church A, going over to another church in another denomination, grabbing the middle, and then grabbing the end. I don't know how true that is, because known from my church is the time limits.
So here's the thing. He had an issue. He ran into an issue with the church elders, because bear in mind, this is still, in the early 50s and 60s.
Yeah, 54.
He was pushing for racial integration, which was not a popular topic at the time in the country. So some of the church elders were getting a little annoyed with him. So in 1955, he established a Pentecostal church, which he called the Wings of Deliverance.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, whatever. And then he started doing this. He started doing a lot of very public stuff, like very public charity kind of work, helping the homeless. In the 60s, he became the director of Indianapolis's Human Rights Commission. But then he claimed, due to the fear of nuclear war, now that's completely irrelevant what he says and what actually happened. But he claimed that due to his worry of a nuclear war in 65, they left Indianapolis to go to California. Initially, they went to a place called Ukiah in Northern California in 65, but then they moved from Ukiah to San Francisco in 71. And this was the majority of the people actually working at his church. He relocated basically his entire church, of all of them that would go. And this was
he bounced around for years, didn't he? Because running scams and things like that as well.
Well, most of his scams will run in the church. Here's the thing. Behind closed doors, and this came from people who had left before the Jonestown thing, he was a self-proclaimed Marxist. I feel like he was more of a Stalinist, like we discussed off stream.
Yeah.
But he was a self-proclaimed Marxist, supporter of communism, and he was always talking about extreme things for the time, like racial equality and a lot of this other stuff, and he was anti-capitalist, but he always, at the time, kept that out of his direct interaction with the public.
Also, by racial equality, all he really meant was, everybody's money that I want is just as green.
That's basically true. At least that's how it got revealed later.
He was not an altruistic person. Right. He's already operating under bad intent right now. We should make that known.
Yeah. He was already. It was already.
And he's starting to move around and get kicked out of the more respectable churches because he's doing things that are maybe not illegal, but unethical, like having people sign over their social security or their houses to him.
Mm-hmm. He was literally living off his parishioners, but
they didn't want him to be part of any bigger, respectable church.
Yeah.
And what this became basically is he believed in Marxism, but he believed in Marxism from the top down. He wanted to be at the top and run his own Marxist little society. So eventually he figured out that if he was going to do his whole Marxist communal thing, he wasn't doing it in the States.
Nope.
Well,
and he got himself
here.
Hmm?
He does allow the opiate of the masses into this. He's using a toxic brew of some co-opted political ideas, and I condemn Marxism. Okay, my father fought against it, but co-opted political ideas and encyclopedic knowledge of the Bible. So he's like throwing his stuff from Marx and Engels, and then he's backing it up with Bible verses. It tended to sound pretty good.
So another thing that what he used to do is what they call code switching. Depending on which, if he went to an African American church, he'd talk like racial justice. He'd talk like they spoke. If he was in like a poorer area, if he was in a richer area, he'd speak richer. If he went to an evangelical area, he'd talk like an evangelical minister. He'd talk more like a Lutheran reverend if he went to the conservative areas. And when he was talking to the youth, he was talking about like all this hippie stuff, radical self identities. He's like talking about like socialism, talking about integration, talking about like freeing of the mind, freeing of the body, like find the man and everything like that. He code switched all the time.
You read the room extremely well and knew exactly what people wanted to hear, is what you're saying here. Chameleon-like ability to tell people exactly what they want to hear.
And that whole thing, that Admiral Teague brought up, the diverting the income and assets of his members is actually part of what got him brought under investigation and actually incited them to leave the country.
Right. At first, he starts moving around America a little bit, but then it becomes federal, and he has to get out of the U.S.
Yeah, he ended up in San Francisco, and one of the things while he was under investigation was found that he was in a porn theater, like right?
What?
And
I think you might be right about that. Yeah, I think I'm remembering now.
And he pulled his penis out. I wonder did it glow with his holiness? And showed it to one of the undercover cops, which promptly got him arrested. Now, his lawyer... Yep.
Go ahead. Finish that first.
His lawyer was actually a member of the church. He got it swept on... Yep. Got it swept underneath the table, kept it, paid the papers, keep his name out of it, and basically lied to the parishioners. But
by the way, that speaks to his point of just knowing his audience. He's got a pauper who he's robbing from, and he's got a wealthy, educated lawyer pimping for him and fronting for him. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
That's all right. Now, what I was going to say, there's another element of this that speaks to his whole idea of leading these people away so he could practice his beliefs from the top down. His beliefs in personal intimacy. See, in 1974, he had already bought the land in Guyana over in South America. But as part of his teachings of his little church, he discouraged both sex and romantic relationships. But at the same time, this fucker was committing adultery left and right, including with one of the administrators of his own fucking church.
Yep. And another thing that he was doing, so he started out by faith healing, right?
Oh, yeah, that scam.
Yeah, so he put his hand on the back of the neck and pulled this reverend who was having a lot of pain, shoulder pain, and pulled this reverend's head forward and told him, run, Reverend, run, you believe in God, Reverend? Said, yes. You believe that God sends prophets? Yes, to heal. This is a Southern Baptist. I don't know what they believe. But he pulled the head forward. Now,
I can assure you, any Southern Baptist that was taken in by him had given up the doctrine long ago.
Had they? Okay. So one of the things that people examining this account later on said is that the Reverend may have had a trapped nerve in the base of his neck, and when pulling his head forward, he released it.
I'm gonna say you're probably right there. That sounds like he just got lucky.
Yeah,
Well,
that was
just FYI, I was raised Free Will Baptist. We're like one step away from Southern Baptist. I know 20 different Baptist doctrines, so I can assure you that no true Southern Baptist was following Jim Jones.
No, he vultured off the edge of their flock with the weak and the
Just Sparks, I'm
to be seduced. He knew how
Baptist
to
Church. You mean? I'm Just Sparks. I'm just going by what I heard this Reverend classified as.
No. Yeah, that's where he comes from. He's poaching off that church. Would be the way to put it.
So,
he was running what he called the Pentecostal church, but by my understanding, he was poaching people from all walks of life.
He was,
and from a number of different churches as well.
He poached his religious side of his commie religious con man pitch on the.
And another thing
as a Pentecostal
that was interesting about him, for the time and for a lot of people, is he was actually quite fashionable. Like. And if you notice,
and for 1978, that is an awesome outfit. The disco glasses are like, they'd be $100 now.
But he pointed out, and Favre, I think you did as well, the amount of red he wore. He always wore red somewhere on him. But another thing that he did a few times is that he'd do faith healings, right? And there's a psychological effect. The placebo effect, which a lot of people, I think, believe themselves. Oh, I can do it now. Boom, placebo. Now, he got so many people through the door that this started not to work. So he had to fake it, which meant that there's a very famous account of in multiple churches. He had this one lady, his assistant, right? She, his secretary, she would go into the audience, and when she was in the audience, there she would go in a wheelchair or be on crutches. And he would tell her, rise, rise, rise. And then, either some variants of Christ compels you, or in the power of God, some insert religious text, depending on the area that she was in. He would something placate to them, right? And I am just going to get rid of that. Yeah, that thing we were talking about, Favre. Keeping an eye on that if I miss it.
Okay, got it.
So she would go around. She would get out of her wheelchair, and she kept walking around and saying, oh, I'm healed, I'm healed, I'm healed, all this stuff. And when she went around, it's insane. She kept lying to everyone, saying that she had different names in different places. He kept using the one woman over and over and over again. Now, another thing that he did was, he's like, if you view me as your teacher, I am your teacher. If you view me as your minister, I am your minister. If you view me as your father, I am your father. And if you view me as Jesus, I am Jesus.
Well, you remember that thing I mentioned earlier about him discouraging relationships?
Yes.
At one point, he was also basically claiming to be the father of all.
Yeah.
Which is why he said he discouraged relationships.
A lot of the kids in the later videos...
Sounding a bit like our pal David Koresh there.
Yes. Yeah. Give me 1 second. More like a... So if anyone can't see for what I just typed, Philip said he sounds like a comedian. How comedian reads to the crowd. No, it sounds more like a medium.
Yeah.
Like I'm getting the name B. A man 49 years, 50ish, maybe 60 years old. That sounds like my brother Brian. Yes, Brian is telling me all this stuff, looks at you and pulls you out very common stuff.
It's like the carnival fortune teller shtick.
Yeah, exactly.
But he's throwing in some kind of semi-profound and somewhat relevant Bible verses that are blowing people's mind. Like, maybe I am like following in the way of the Savior by what Mr. Jones, what Reverend Jones says. Like, let's not forget, this was very seductive. It was a powerful mix for whatever reason.
It was.
Well, he was noted
Poopus.
early on. He was noted by his own former church as being very charismatic. He would sell this shit to people.
Yeah. And one of the things that made him shocking, especially for the time, was he ripped up the Bible in one church, and his big shtick was saying it was just a book, right? That he had the power, that like it's just a book, and he would throw it on the ground.
Pretty fucking heretical.
Yeah, trifle.
Yeah, like he would, like that was his thing. And what he would do, I have seen footage of him in documentaries on different things. Is when he would, as Farv was saying, that he would get people to sign over. He said to this one elderly African American lady, "Is that, are you retired?" And she said, laughing, "Not around you, I'm not."
Oh.
Like, now the thing is, he got thousands upon thousands of people to sign over their...
Check your messages. Check your...
Hold on, give me 1 second now.
Christ.
Yeah, so our pal Jim Jones, very good at the old-fashioned Ponzi scheme. What he's doing is he's going around to the weakest people in society. And, like, we're talking, like, if you were living on the street or something like that, he'd take you, he'd clean you up, he'd get you kind of churched up. He would be able to kind of put you in a trance because you'd been living on the streets on hard drugs, sort of preparing yourself for this. I mean, well, not to give a medical opinion here, but if you do heavy-duty drugs to the point that you become homeless from your drug abuse, you probably will have some brain damage, and you will be suggestible. And we know that Reverend Jimmy would, he would lure people with booze or flirty fishing. He used chicks to get people to join. And what happens is eventually he collected enough people who in America had the limited amount of social security and cash that we do give people. But like, we're talking about, like, he was maybe Ponzi scamming about $3,000 to $4,000 a month by year 2 or 3 of this operation off the federal government, which would be like $35,000 a month today, something like that. And he's running around with that kind of buying power. So he puts himself on the map and starts to look like a prosperity minister. Yep. And at some point, heavy-duty drug use come in. But before the drugs fuck him up, they end up being performance enhancers for his last kind of trip around America, where he goes from ghetto to ghetto, sort of rounding up the weak-minded, rounding up people who had terrible brain damage from that, and putting together a group of people large enough to migrate with him to Jonestown when his problems came to fruition. Potato, take it away.
He actually hired fleets of buses to do this, to go from area to area to area with them. And that was like how he would really, really get his people there and everything like that. Like, and when he was like setting up in San Francisco, and when he'd get the buses, while he was doing his faith revival, is what his stick was. He would turn around and he said, like, come back to San Francisco with us. Like, and everyone's like, yeah, a lot of people went back with him. But he went to this one church where he tried to Papa Divine, he called himself.
Mm-hmm.
And when he was there, he turned around and he claimed that he was the reincarnation of Papa Divine.
Oh boy.
I don't know who, like, that was a cult leader back then.
I would just say, could I have the reincarnation of Papa John's? Because I would like to have an everlasting restoring pizza. But that's the kind of crazy shit he's pitching there.
When I was in America, I had Papa John's. It was fucking disgusting.
You had the misfortune. You had the misfortune of coming in after the guy who actually ran the company lost it.
I'll tell you, I live in Queens. They don't have any like franchise pizza places here. There might be. There's like one Domino's. People here get the real thing. Our pizza's different.
Mm-hmm.
So let's see.
It's pizza, but not as you know it.
Now, one of the things that he used to do was he'd go around. He then bought a load of, like you were saying, a load of land in Guyana, which was incredibly poor, and they could not say no to him.
Yeah, it's on record that the authorities there were kind of looking at him funny, but they needed the money.
Yeah, like, and that many people coming in at once with that much fucking money, like,
he literally conned the country the same way he conned everybody else in his life.
You damn yeah.
Except now he's been on drugs a really long time, and he's getting stupid because, let's face it, he could have gotten a piece of arable land. He didn't need to be in that useless swamp. He was just like,
But see, when one does those kind of drugs, they start to believe what they're telling people.
Yeah. Now, one of the things, all the footage that really got put.
Sorry, I was just saying. The problem there was he couldn't sustain it, right? It was non-arable land to the layman. He just didn't negotiate or look at anything or he was being very sloppy. Now, I do believe what you say that he believed his own bullshit. But if he waved his hand over a map like a Swami and came up with that piece of land, they also knew he was pretty fucking dumb.
So this is the land, and this is the compound of Jonestown.
Mm-hmm.
See, I remember the name. Now, this is the church that he created, symbol, and this is the land. Now, one of the ways that he got people there. Okay, so Philip says, I wonder how many songs there were about what happened in Jonestown, even if it's just the Kool-Aid mention. That's actually Flavor Aid.
Couldn't tell you. I mean, yeah, but everybody was calling it Kool-Aid back then.
Every song by the band Brian Jonestown Massacre, they have 3 records.
Oh, Jesus.
Who dropped a wrench on my poor paw?
Oh.
So, one of the things that, like, he did when he got there, like, that everyone was really gone on, was the fact that there was a lot of African Americans there, right? There's a lot of Chinese people, a lot of Japanese, a lot of white people all living together. In the 70s, this was like radical.
Yeah.
And
everyone was
in Jonestown itself,
yes,
or in Guyana. Guyana
no, Jonestown itself.
Right, the Jonestown racial makeup wasn't weird to the Guyanese; it was weird to Americans.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but in Jonestown itself is where, and he turned around and everyone there was dancing. Now, survivors said that they were not allowed have the proper food. They were for about a year, and then he started losing his mind. Like, his preaching started getting more radical. His everything started going insane, and everything broke about 6 months before, like, shit hit the fan. One of the things that one person said, one of the survivors, he said that he was eating his dinner, or like rice and lentils, and there's maggots in it.
Brilliant.
That's the only
Yeah.
protein you're gonna get in that town. But you know, again, here's a man who had enough money to get some arable land. Like for whatever reason, he wanted it to be unpleasant for them, or he was just being plain old incompetent. This didn't have like he could have sustained this. Like Jonestown could still be there if he'd been a little smarter.
As
Probably
far as I
still
know,
would.
it is still there.
Imagine if it had, well, no, what I'm saying is there could be a community there headed by a successor of Jones rather than what ultimately happened, which, spoiler alert, it doesn't end well for these people.
No.
It's pretty bad what happens. But I'm saying, yeah, there was like his commune idea, like there's parts of this country where it would have been sustainable. He just wasn't smart enough to get one of them. They were going to give him any piece of land he wanted.
Yeah, like when he got there, they were a republic only 6 years.
Okay.
When he got 10 years. When he got there in the 70s, it was officially recognized as a republic in 1970, and it joined the.
But moral of the story: don't be high on negotiation day.
Pretty much. French
I'd
Guyana. No, it was actually British at the time. That's what they were. So.
Right, the British had probably seized it in World War II.
Yeah. Now, 6 months before shit hit the fan, he was no longer sleeping at night.
Right.
He was.
He's on some kind of speed. Whatever he's doing.
Ketamine, amphetamines, things like that. He was on a cocktail.
He was mixing.
Yeah. Let's make sure we point out here. He's not snorting this shit. At this point, he's probably injecting it. So he is wildly high. And there's the added thing of if you don't sleep for several days, you're going to start to trip out too. So he's kind of having like this weird experience and state of consciousness that you and I could never really understand and wouldn't want to, but that's where he's existing now.
I tend to have bad cases of insomnia, and a friend of ours who I know has it as well. And there was one time where both me and her stayed on chat, and we were up for about 3 days, and by the end of it, I fire hopped in. Both of us sounded like we were drinking. We were like
a reasonably sane person.
So not me then.
Shut up. A reasonably sane person, especially if it's a person who's had experience with this kind of thing, can go for about a week and some change before they suffer any actual damage. But the fact that this guy was going for this many days consecutively under the influence of drugs,
yeah,
and he was already kind of damaged upstairs by then anyway.
Yeah. Hold on.
It's very close to end stage Hitler. Very, very close.
Oh, just change that name to German, dude. Algorithm.
End stage Hilter.
Yeah, that do. So as also being seen might help negotiations as well as seeing it as optimal. Yeah, now, here's the thing. People were writing out of Jonestown, and different people were getting reactions, and they were like, where's my family? Here's the interesting thing. Everyone there was brainwashed. Most. Right? Because there's recordings of sermons, like, and one of the sermons, one guy says, I want to get a scissors and gouge my sister's eye out with it. 1 sec. And gouge my sister's eye out. Then I want to cut the family up and feed them through a garbage disposable. There's another
you have
person.
to have a dream.
Yeah, exactly. Meanwhile, my dream is to become the fully realized God and Emperor of the planet, like I already am. It's just everyone doesn't realize it yet. Vote for me. A vote for me is a vote for tyranny.
You don't have enough Kool-Aid for that.
Oh,
Excuse me, don't you mean Flavor Aid?
it doesn't make any difference. It mixes the same fucking way.
Did they still do Flavor Aid?
No, but Kool-Aid's still a thing.
Yeah, I'm so sorry.
I
By
guarantee
the
you, I
way,
could go to the I could go to the grocery store right
What do you
now
mean?
and get
Kool-Aid is
Flavor Aid,
delicious.
man. In my area, it's
Fucking
still
amazing.
yeah.
no, may
What?
I ask you guys? Do we think
Yeah.
that what's going on here is he's got a cadre of people who are living a little better, doing the suppression for him, right?
Okay,
And
interesting about that.
This dude had a
they're
personal.
getting better food and drugs, right?
This guy had a personal guard.
Right.
He basically had a cadre of hitmen.
Right.
Now,
So this
as
is
well-
getting very, very Animal Farm.
yes, as well as he had an inner circle, and all of his inner circle was white, and people like black people who survived, they turn around and say that they had to work harder, like they had to work longer,
Yeah.
and
Because
like,
I got
his-
bad news for people. I mean, his deteriorating mental state completely aside, the beliefs that he had don't tend to actually be racially
Real?
sensitive.
No,
Right, but I just want to say this without trying, because he's not sleeping and he's going crazy and he's doing what we now casually refer to as a flex, right? He's got a flex. He's in control here. He's told you up is down and you can only listen to him. So one other thing that's going on is he's not sleeping. He's tripping out. So every once in a while, what he wants to do is he gets inspired at like 2:30 in the morning and he'll
Oh,
get
we'll
on
get to-
okay, sorry. Okay, so what he's doing, by the way, though, is even early on, no one in Jonestown is ever arrested. That is setting in. He's using that method of physical privation on people. The food, of course, is wearing on a lot of these people. And the heat, I mean, on your best day, you wouldn't want to walk around Jonestown. It's below sea level. It always seems to be a bug-infested hell whenever a reporter goes
It's
there to
Leo
report on it.
Ryan. Potato.
oh, Leo. Okay.
That was the
Right,
senator.
yeah. Famous Irish American politician. He would have been president by now. I mean, he was Irish. Come on.
Yeah, compared to the one that we have now. Yeah. Anyway,
I'm going to run for president of Cuba and Ireland because I think I can do both. This is a twofer, but that's
run
another
for prime minister. The president's useless.
If I run for president, I'll be unopposed, right? There is no president, right? Look at the
But
win here.
no, we have a president.
Oh,
He doesn't
he
do
presides
anything.
over, like, the parliament.
Yeah.
It's ceremonial, like parliamentary president.
Basically.
Yeah, I understand.
It is a parliament, but so he was having people practicing for what he called white nights. Okay.
Right, and he would repeat
And-
that ad nauseum into the loudspeaker until everyone is awake.
Yes.
And you had to go out to the basketball court, and then he would hang out in the air conditioning and rant. And he had some great he had like a Bible in one hand, and I guess the little red book of Chairman Mao in the other, and he's just going nuts. And it kind of sounds like it makes sense because you are a mess by now. This is like 3 months in.
Yeah, he did drills where he'd have like people with like drinks and everything like that, and he'd be like, "Would you care to offer yourself for Jesus for me?"
yeah.
Like,
Allow me to.
Go ahead.
Okay, so what he would do at this point is they were having practice drills in preparation for a ritual suicide, which of course we know that what was coming eventually. But the thing was, he never made it clear that these were drills or that they were practice. He would just suddenly out of nowhere set up all this stuff and bring everybody out and tell them to do it.
Yes. Like
And then afterward he would be like, okay, well, this was just practice for when the real time comes.
Mm-hmm. And this was scaring people. A lot of people left. One guy said he got out by basically. So they had these Ghanaian workers coming in to build something at the time, and he paid them like $100, which was a lot of money then in dollars. But
I'm sorry, I had to laugh. It's Guyanese.
It's Guyanese.
The word is Guyanese.
Yeah, because they're in Guyana.
Oh, right, I thought it was
Guyanese. They're Guyanese.
Yeah.
Oh, no problem. Guinan is great in Star Trek Generations. But no,
But
not in this one. Sorry.
So the Guyanese, right? I thought it was Guyanan.
It depends on who you talk to.
You might be able to make a case for that in British English. All I would say is I have guilt by association or whatever. I'm in closer proximity to them, so I've spoken to people from Guyana, and they're like, "I'm Guyanese." And by the way, a beautiful bunch of people in that nation.
Oh yeah, so he turned around and he paid to get into the back of one of the trucks, and he got out. That man is still alive today. Now,
I think a lot of other people would have tried to get out of there if they hadn't been food deprived, sleepy, filthy, and out of it from working 18 hours a day. Because remember, if Jim Jones has a drug fit at 2 a.m. and he wants to white night until 11 in the morning, well, you better still do your 18 hours of work trying to pull something out of that swampland that was below the water table. And I don't know what he thought he could grow there except for rice. He was dependent on the money he was using and skimming to feed them at all. And I think what happens is his lifestyle is getting bigger while he's giving them less and less. And meanwhile, he's still trying to grow his church, and he can't have anybody quit. So the stakes are really high. If one person leaves, the whole house of cards comes down. He overextended himself, and he made several bad choices. And now he's a brain-damaged druggie, but he could still really throw Bible stuff at you great. This, by the way, this kind of exertion, the Marine Corps in extreme training, U.S. Navy SEALs in extreme training, SEER training for survival of torture. This is part of what they do to see if you'll break down and say where the Americans are, or say what kind of what your unit is, or what the plan is. This is the kind of thing that is classical brainwashing, ritualistic lack of sleep, repetitive motions, and the like.
Admiral, in my country, when they were during the War of Independence, they would teach the rebels to sing under torture the national anthem.
I'll sing a song, a soldier's song.
Yeah, but in Irish.
I don't know how to speak Irish. Sorry, I did my best.
I know it's a good tune. But they taught him to sing that song in Irish, or Oro, underneath the torture. So, like, when people would be tortured. But, like, here's the thing. During some of the survivors who got out said that the kids would be piled up on tables, like, if they fell asleep, like, up, and I'm talking about 4, 5, 6-year-olds staying up until 2 or 3 in the morning. They would get slapped, like, in the face. They would be in huge trouble if they fell asleep at the tables, at the sermons. And the kids were out of it. Like, kids were thrown up, they were that tired.
Yeah.
Right. So what's going on here is some people are getting the Guyanese workers to bring, like, letters with them. And we have 1 or 2 people escape. And like I was saying, more people would have escaped if they weren't a mess. Like, you were just in a trance by this point, and he sustains this level of psychological and physical deprivation for months, many, many months. And if you want to see the kind of thing we're talking about, the movie is it The Maestro or The Master with Philip Seymour Hoffman and Joaquin Phoenix? Where he starts to scream at him and hector him and say, touch the window, touch the wall, touch the bookcase, touch the drape, touch the window, touch the wall. And it goes on. And you see him start to go to a different place, and his eyes glaze over, and he gets nothing. So by doing this to people, and even Druidic accounts of Druidic rituals even have these repeated rituals, and the vision quest of the American Indian, Native American, the lack of sleep, these are all key things. Or even, what the Klingon warriors go through in Star Trek.
Like, there's, did any of you ever hear the squeak test?
I am not aware of that.
So basically, it was a test to have a version, right? Where someone would squeak and then they'd beat you, right? To see could they get you made scared of the squeaking sound. You know, like from a little doggy ball or something?
So it's Pavlovian. It was a
Yeah.
Pavlovian experiment
Yeah.
in nature.
So
Hello,
they
Brad
go
Wolf,
squeak
welcome.
and then they would beat your ass. He was doing something similar to him, but with food. Like, and here's the thing: he was sending out footage of everyone dancing. They said like maybe once a month they'd get out all the food, stock it up, eat cans, like, you know, like leave empty cans around. Like people would be like, "Oh my god, this is the best thing ever!" Dancing, right? And in my opinion, the biggest mistake was from the American government. Leo Ryan, his office made a huge mistake. They sent him a letter saying that we're coming. That was their mistake.
Well, it
What do you
gave him
mean?
time. It gave him time not only to prepare, but worse yet, it gave him time to think about it.
Yes.
You know, here's the thing. They don't really know too much except that he's sketch and that he might be a welfare cheat, right?
Well, I'm
Like,
not saying it was deliberate, but it ended
No.
up being a mistake
Right.
nonetheless.
Okay. The fatal action was treating him like he was normal because
Yeah.
he's
Yes.
a
Pretty much.
sociopath who's going to succeed in killing a lot of people.
Yeah, because
agree
he
that
stopped.
it was- I agree
I'm
that it was a
sorry.
fatal action.
Deleting a lot of people.
Hold up, Bubba.
Yeah.
Say that again, Bubba.
I agree that it was a fatal action. I disagree that it was a mistake. I think they did it on purpose. They
I
wanted
don't
the
think
spectacle.
so. I don't think so
Well,
because
the letter
you
was
don't
sent on
publicly
purpose
sacrifice
just
a senator for something like that.
I don't think they're trying to get him killed, and he wasn't a radical guy with any crazy ideas. He was a run-of-the-mill American politician of his time, in line with other people from his area and well regarded. He was just to Jim Jones, who had now been reduced to mere paranoia. Any operative of the government was like, this was basically a CIA agent coming to his place. He was sure that maybe his secretary was a CIA agent, kind of a thing. He was seeing things where they weren't. He's sleep deprived. He is a wreck. He is on all sorts of drugs, and he's been being hero worshipped. And the object. Let's not forget, Jim Jones is also getting part of this feedback loop that's going in. He is feeding you abuse, and he's getting back adulation.
And
So
one of
Yes.
the
if you've been married, you understand.
one of the insinuations before the airport incident that we're building up to with Leo Ryan was that he was sure that Ryan had basically come there to scope them out before his one basically came from them. He was just what was about to happen.
Yeah, like he was saying this is his white night incident. Now, while Leo was there from the 14th to the 18th, am I coming in okay to you guys?
You're getting a little stuttery.
Hold on, I'm going to refresh.
Here's how my perception is from America. You ready? Favre is really roboting and unintelligible.
Oh,
And you have been more or less fine. So if
Favre,
anybody
you're
might need
roboting.
to, if anybody might need to plug and unplug their microphone, at least from where I am, and I, of course, sound clear to me. So
Yeah,
I don't
you
know,
sound clear as well.
FPS, what's your
Everybody
perception?
else sounded that way to me. Was the stream having issues?
Far-
Maybe.
Maybe
I
you're
haven't
fine,
really
Favre, now.
But he'd be super robotic, except for Potato that one time really earlier on. But other than that, everybody's come through pretty crystal clear.
Okay, so
I'd like to think so. And guys in chat, let us know.
if hold on, I was hearing, I'm hearing some roboting. Potato was fine. Okay, so we're all sorted now. So here's the thing. While he was there, everyone was like showing off, like, "Oh my god, we're so great" and everything. Now I can't show the footage, but if you watch the footage of the last day, there is a boy smiling and he is crying while he is smiling at the camera. That is terrifying. And one of the people who tried to get out, We don't know if this man survived or not. Right? He handed Leo Ryan a note saying, "Help us get out." And he said, "Tonight, like, all of you meet me on this runway, and you will be gone out of here by 6 o'clock tonight." So Jim Jones let all these people, about a dozen people, leave. And when he did, he said, "Right, you can go unrestricted. I'm not going to stop you."
Right. And at this point, the congressman sort of accelerates his plans and decides he's going to get out of there a whole lot sooner. He's not spending the night with these people after he gets this note.
Yeah.
And he's seen a few things. This guy was not stupid, okay?
No.
He represented a major part of this country. He was a California congressman, I believe, because that was Jones's other base of operation. We don't want Jones back. We're happy to have him where he is, but it looks like he's really hurting American citizens. And these people, some of whom had diminished capacity, some of whom he picked up, he was going to halfway houses and other things, getting the most vulnerable. And like, you come to and you realize you're okay, and you're just in Jonestown. Also, if you had problems, he would tell you to stop taking your anti-crazy pills. So that's what you've got going on there.
Yeah.
So on the runway, there was two of these planes waiting. Now, I don't know if you can see this man here, beside the person in the green blur.
The one with the hat.
On the right hand. No, not close. I mean,
under
by the back
under
door.
the prop or next to the cockpit.
Prop.
Okay.
He, inside of the plane, opened fire. Now, as well, Jones had also sent down in a little truck a group of armed men.
Mm-hmm.
And they opened fire. I will not be showing any of the bodies, but this is one of the planes, and here's the other plane. Like, they shot up the planes. Inside, one of the survivors, she said that the top of her mother's head, was blown like clear off. Her father was shot in the collarbone. She thought he was shot in the neck, and he told her run. So her and a load of other girls and boys got off the plane and ran into the jungle. From there, they went for 5 days. On the 5th day, they were delusional. They were in trees, they were drinking. At one stage, they thought it was water, but it was animal pee.
Oof.
Yeah. They said, like, she don't know if it's actually what it was. Like she said, but by the taste it was animal pee, but she saw it as being clear water. She don't know to this day if it was actually clear. So on the fifth day that they were in the jungle, they were hallucinating. Right? They were dying. And one of the girls heard music. She heard an angel singing to her. And she said, and the angel was like, "Hey, come over here to me." Like, "Okay, come over here." And she said, and when she went closer to the angel, it turned out it was a tree.
Oof.
And the music stopped being music and turned into chainsaws and a generator.
Yeah, they accidentally found a logging camp.
Surrounded by cops who were looking for him. Because they thought that maybe the logging camp had some thing that they could find him, because they were going to use the logging camp to go looking for them. They were using it like as a base, if you get me. So then they found them all. Now, the thing is, they were like, "Where are you from?" And they were like, "I am from the choo-choo," and they were completely out of it. So one of the guys who was on the plane woke up. He had mild wounds, but he was like unconscious because they had hit him in the head. When he woke up, he told them how to get to Jonestown, because these were the police from the local area, not from close to Jonestown.
Right.
When they got there, it was the worst thing. They had found a tape recording saying that "This is our white night. We cannot live free, but we can die free. where Jones had killed 900 people. The thing is, some of these people took it themselves, but there's tapes and evidence on the bodies, including on the children, of injections in their mouths, eyes, stomachs, necks, shoulders, thighs.
Basically, anyone, once his little group of hitmen returned to the compound, anyone who wasn't willing to go through it voluntarily by drinking the poison cocktail he put together was forcibly administered it, and I do mean forcibly.
Yeah. Now, if you're wondering how did you kill so many people? While he was stockpiling food, he was also stockpiling cyanide, because from day one of his ministries, he was talking about death. And this is what happened. This is what he did. And out of the survivors who got back, one of the people was a shooter. I forget his name. I do apologize. But he, and I suppose as well, it's a good thing I don't remember because I don't want people going looking for him. He did shoot up a school. Another person had issues with domestic abuse. Some other people killed themselves. Like, this left scars. One girl, she grew up, she said her dad became a grandfather and a great grandfather, and he is scared to let people on, like, to trust anyone. But he's got to be a good grandfather to 6 girls, and a great grandfather to a couple of boys and some more girls. Another guy went on and ran a business, but he's scared to ever get on a plane again. He won't get onto a prop plane.
Yeah.
And this is the thing, like, this is Jim Jones' legacy. Now, the man himself, the coward, would not even drink his own juice. He shot himself.
Well, because cyanide's a bad way to go. He wanted it quick.
Yeah, now here's the thing about the bodies, if anyone looks it up. All the bodies were not gathered in one area. They were all, they were all gathered in areas, which means that the people just took it and, well, off you go. And just dropped dead where they were staring, where they were standing. Here's the thing, I'm just going to wrap this up in a minute, and before we shield ourselves.
Yeah.
Is, everyone keeps talking about the victims and everything like that, because you keep seeing the bodies, you keep seeing Jim Jones in pictures like this and pictures like this. But what you don't see these are the faces,
the people themselves.
Yeah, of everyone like that Jim Jones killed that day.
There was so many kids in this fucking compound.
There were so many lives ruined because of one man's absolute fucking mental illness. And the thing about true crime that people find interesting, I find interesting, is why. But also talking about it, maybe people can find a way to figure out whys and what not to do and just avoid it, if possible. But with 6 minutes left, Farv, you want to shield your stuff and then we move on?
Yeah. Jesus. So, excuse me. So, I have written a book. I am in the process of finishing the sequel.
Is it the Bible?
No. Oh my God, no. Never. It's called the Favithia Chronicle. It's on Amazon. There's a link to it on my front page of my channel, which is called Favithian Guard. I'm pretty sure the links will be on this video later. It's a gaming channel. Right now, we're doing a few things. We're doing the Sinking City. We're doing Armored Core 6, Bolt Gun. Next week, sometime late next week, I will be starting a new survival horror game called Daymare 1994. And we got a few other things that we're working on here and there. So hopefully check it out. My brother and I have a lot of fun with the channel. It's a lot of work, but in between my writing, that's most what I do now.
Awesome. Teague, you want to shield yourself?
I would love to show myself. My name is Admiral Teague, and I do a show called Saving Star Trek. Sometimes, a lot of the time, we do Star Trek and Trek-related stuff, a lot of sci-fi. We try to have fun. We try to make it fun. And we review the new Trek, but we're able to make that fun, too. So I hope you'll join me and check out my channel. We also do a lot of uploads. We're branching out into military movies and watch-alongs. We do a lot of watch-alongs on my channel. And we're thinking about like looking into the Yellowstone universe coming up until there's some more new Star Trek. And, of course, celebrating the old Star Trek that was good. And that's my thing. I'm Admiral Teague. There's my link in the chat. And thanks for having me.
Thank you so much. Man, you're always welcome back. Bubba.
Is he there?
He muted
Technical
himself.
difficulties there. All right.
There he is.
So,
You always say you're
anyway.
muted first, right?
yeah,
Uh-huh.
that's right. All right. So, respectfully disagree. I believe that most of these cult situations are a CIA psyop because I'm a sane American. But anyway, everybody, if y'all want to come and follow me on to X now, formerly known as Twitter, y'all can watch me, go, between the eyes of all these people who, seem to believe everything that the government tells them or that the woke left tell them. Anyway, all of you have a wonderful week. It has been absolutely delightful. Can't wait for Waco next week. And then, of course, we know what comes after.
That's
Have
going
a
to be a
nice night.
fascinating arc of discussion. I can't wait to hear that. Wow.
I'm not going to be present for that one.
You coming for the bombings?
I'll see. I
Yeah,
can't
we'll
tell you
talk
that
about
yet.
that. Yeah.
Well, especially since one happened because of the other. It's kind of a two-parter.
Well,
Thank you again for letting me participate in this. I love true crime, and this is a great podcast.
Hold up. So, Raised by FPS here. Just look him up on YouTube, on Twitch, Raised by FPS. He's a great guy. He streams like Destiny. He streams Ark. He's got a Discord where he hangs out with people, like just like fun guy. Yeah, he's live there a lot of the times. Especially with like the new season of Destiny coming out. If you're like new in Destiny or you need to know what to do, he's there to show you. He's like built a great little community. So yeah, go check him out. Raised by FPS on Twitch. So everyone, thank you for watching. Thank you for joining us. And I will see you all next week. So remember, don't drink the Kool-Aid. Stay safe and God bless. Remember, only invest in flavoring.
Oh. Well, that was abrupt.
We're still live.
I hit the wrong
He
button.
accidentally yeeted it.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have bonus